Hey guys, it's Thorn. So my computer crapped out on me maybe 2 weeks ago, and obviously things are closed, so we're just gonna have to deal with it later. But a few of you had asked me about my recent forays into gardening, so I'm gonna try to kind of actually edit a video and show you some stuff. I've been raising seedlings inside. I have kind of a little like greenhouse set up, and anyway, they're getting to the point where they need to be in a bigger space, and it's warm enough, kind of magically the equinox arrived and it's like 80 degrees outside because it's Carolina and that's how we roll. So I'm spending today getting my container garden built. I'm really excited about it. So I'll show you some things. So this is my situation inside. I basically just got this really inexpensive plant rack and then rigged, again, this really inexpensive grow lights up above them. It's been really easy and super effective. I actually don't have to do very much work except for keeping moisture levels under control, just because they will drip, if they get out of hand. So kind of the impetus here was, I don't know. It's really sort of well timed, as I think some of these issues are kind of at the fore of people's minds with what we're dealing with now. But my mother was a gardener, and I remember being a kid and going to like the hardware store and watching her plant shit and thinking, like, this is really boring, or like, why are we doing this, or why do you invest so much time in these things that just die every year? But it always brought her a lot of joy, and I started to understand that as I got older. And of course, there's this thing that happens when I think you first begin exploring witchcraft, where everybody feels like they have to become a master herbalist like right away. Everybody's like, oh, my witchy garden and whatever. And in like today's age, of course, it's all about the baneful herbs, right? Everybody has their poison garden. And I say that kind of with that tone in my voice. I've had that impulse too, okay? But I say that with that tone in my voice just because it's definitely a certain type of like witchcraft community that I think sort of promotes those ideas. And there's not inherently a problem with the use of baneful herbs. But I think sometimes it's easy for folks to forget that, hey, some of these plants are actually dangerous, and maybe we should just be a little bit more thoughtful about how we handle them and who handles them. And me, like, I've had impulses for sure. Like here I do have some wormwood seedlings going, and I do have foxglove. I've grown foxglove for years just because it's a really common kind of like old lady southern garden flower. Like we always had them growing up, and obviously it's a toxic plant, but it's also like something you can go down to the Home Depot and pick up. So I guess I never thought about it in those terms. So I do have foxglove. The wormwood is an experiment just because I had the pack of seeds. I don't know what I'll actually do with it, but there it is. Hooray! And obviously I don't want to have toxic things around my animals. We have a lot of cats. And there's kids in the neighborhood, and I just think it's important to be mindful of that stuff. I was a lot more interested this time around in vegetables. I really like the idea of being able to supply one's own food where that's possible. It's one of the reasons why I began exploring hunting, and why I got licensed to hunt was because I figured, if you're going to eat meat, like, there are other ways to eat meat aside from supporting factory farming. I think that, I've said this in much older videos, right? Like, there's a certain allyship that's possible between ethical hunters, I think, and vegetarians and vegans, in the extent that, like, everybody hates factory farming. Anyway, I digress. But same principle here, this idea of self-sustainability and reducing environmental impact. Plus, I live in what is essentially a food desert. You have to drive several miles to get to a grocery store. There is a farmer's market, but again, it's about half an hour away. So you know, something to commit to. But these are my guys. I'm so excited. So there's basil and there's cucumber and there's red pepper and there's okra. Okra's kind of gross, but I feel obligated as a southerner. What the hell is this? The cilantro. There's some sage. There's jalapenos. I really love to eat peppers, so there's a lot of that going on. As you can see, some of these guys are getting to be too big. My cucumbers are a little bit out of control, so we're starting the hardening process where they go outside for a while, and then they come back in at night, and then they go back outside, and just kind of toughening them up to live outdoors permanently. What the hell else is growing? I guess that's it. Lavender. Here's lavender. I'm really excited because I've never been able to successfully sprout lavender, and here it is, kicking ass. Yes. Very pleased. So there you have it. This is what my indoor operation looks like. So I've set my cucumbers out here to get a little bit of not too threatening sun. This is sort of what I'm working with here. I've decided to do container gardening because, like, frankly, I'm sentimental, and because we're renters and we move, I didn't want to find myself in a situation where I was having to leave a garden behind, because that's what I had to do when I moved here to Raleigh, and it sucked, and I don't want to do it, but I don't want to do that again. So I've got a few more like large pots. I like these because they fit on the rail, and what the hell else do you do with your rail? May as well grow some shit, right? So you can see my husband's precious wood pile. His hobby is wood. There's our shed. Anyway, I've got some bigger pots, and I have a blueberry bush I'm really excited about. I didn't know that you could do blueberries in containers, so I'm going to give it a whirl. I'm going to grow some fucking blueberries. It's going to be rad. Anyway, this is what I'm doing today. I'm so excited. So I've been out here for a couple of hours just sort of filling pots, and I got some new pots for obviously some of the vegetables that I've been growing on the inside, but I also have lots of outdoor plants that I've just been carting around for years. I'll flip the video here in a second and show you, but I've had like this same rosemary plant for probably a decade, and it's super scraggly because the poor thing lives in a pot. And anyway, repotted it, fertilized it, all that stuff. I've been carting around this catnip plant that I actually planted sort of as part of this magical ritual when I first got Oliver, to kind of like build a relationship with this new cat. And anyway, it's still alive, and I kill it every now and then, but then it just comes back because that's the beauty of mint. But let me show you what I have so far. There you go. So this is peppermint, the blueberry bush. Here's my scraggly old man rosemary. He's my friend. I've been carting him around for a while. Scraggly lavender plant from last season, I think, but just never really grew and never really, you know, just kind of been neglected. I'm trying lettuce. So I got some romaine, the superior lettuce, the most delicious lettuce. Got a little strawberry plant going. I've grown strawberries before. Thought I'd give it a whirl in a hanging basket. Scraggly old thyme that this was actually like a grocery store salvage. You know, like some of the fancier grocery stores will have like grow your own herbs, and they're usually like really sickly plants that just haven't been very well cared for. But I'm like sentimental and sensitive, so I buy the really shitty ones and try to revive them, and that's where this guy came from. Yes, so there's a hellebore that one of my coven mates brought for me last time we had circle, something that she grew. Yeah, I'm really pumped. It'll be a nice little sitting area. So I've pretty much done all I'm going to do today. Here's my little corner. Yeah, I'm super pleased. I forget how much I like doing stuff like this. It's sort of funny, you know, I said earlier in the video, like, it's pretty typical, I think, for people to start exploring, you know, any kind of witchcraft, especially Wicca in the 1990s, and like instantly feel this kind of gleeful pressure to grow herbs, and whatever, hashtag green witch, right? Like that's a thing now. Back in the 90s we just called them witches. but anyway, I really bought into that when I was 14, 15, 16, and it was really fueled by my mother being really into her garden. So I sort of like had already learned a fair bit just by watching her, but moving around a lot and being in college and whatever just wasn't really conducive to gardening. Traveling a lot is not conducive to gardening. So come summer, when festival season kicks up and I'm on the road, like we'll have to see. I guess I'll have to befriend my neighbors and ask for help. Fancy that. But yeah, somewhere along the way I just forgot that I really like this. And I know my husband Matt is really interested in self-sufficiency and homesteading, and I think that's a goal for us kind of down the road. But it's neat. I think even just the value of having houseplants around the house is really high. Like having plants at my office has been really beneficial. I've been carting around the same peace lily and the same African violets for years. And aside from just like, I don't know, like, I mean, I guess they purify the air and they do all kinds of other neat stuff. But mostly they're just really grounding and kind of remind me that there's life outside of my work, and outside of my office. Working in my little container garden today, I think like sort of reminds me of like why I was so interested in witchcraft to begin with. I don't know, like I think sometimes when we talk about how witchcraft is ultimately about, it's connecting with spirits and it's walking in other worlds and it's hedge crossing and it's working with gods, and the litany kind of goes on. Like all of that stuff is true, but it's also really foundationally about getting in touch with one's body and one's surroundings. Like it's very it's embodied, it's corporeal, and like one of the fastest and most sure, safest, inexpensive ways to do that is just by growing some plants. I think that's a really good activity for newcomers, and it's a really good reminder, I think, for those of us who've been around for a while. So we'll see. I'm not super knowledgeable, right? I mean, I'm learning as I'm going. I've got a bunch of books that I've been reading, and some of this is just going to be trial and error. So I'll let you know if you're interested. I'll keep you updated. But it's really cool, doing this new thing, and like, yeah. Anyway, I hope everybody is well and you guys are staying safe out there. I know there's a lot of anxiety-inducing things happening on the news right now and on social media, so I really wanted to kind of shy away from that. I've been quiet online just because, honestly, like, part of it was my computer shitting on me, and then part of it was just, dealing with the environment we're in right now. I'm working from home and negotiating what that's going to look like moving forward, and it's difficult, but it's okay to just take care of yourself and focus on basic stuff. So I hope everybody is well and staying safe, and I find it very grounding to go stick my hands in some dirt, and maybe try the same if you're feeling stressed out. Okay guys, I hope you're well, and happy equinox, and that's all. Okay, bye.